Hello everyone and welcome back once again to Strategic Command, American Civil War. Here in June 17th, 1861, the Union has gotten into this territory. Basically, there are a few areas where how's Fort Monroe doing? They don't give that much, but clearing out Fort Monroe would be difficult. Let's set these guys to manual, and they too could only attach 3. The way that works, I do want to send some forces over to West Virginia for sure. I need these guys to move there. Cannot reinforce the regiment. That also blocks them. Unfortunate, they've been there for a turn already. Okay, ideally, I'll get back Alexandria. I wonder if they would attack. Probably not. Again, they're not getting past that stuff. Alright. Again, as for... Let's start with diplomacy here. So... let's invest in that. Infantry tactics. Increases the attachment range and unit limit of HQs. Going for core organization is probably also a good idea. There you go. So that's that for the moment. Now, I want these to go down. Because we don't have any shipments going there, but we do have one down here. So if I can send these further down south for the moment. I don't know where the Union's fleet is, but we can't really engage them profitably either way. Yes, let's keep these like this, so I can fairly quickly take territory here. Make sure my new units don't run out of supply. I'll reinforce these for whatever that's worth too. They'll probably die on the next turn, but nothing I can do at that for now. All right, that's it. We'll get another 700. I wonder how much the Union gets. Actually, interesting to figure out later. If I'm really lucky, they might not be able to destroy that this turn, but it's unlikely. Oh, that's nice. Wow. That's really far. No, they did hold out this turn. This turn. Yep, I'd like to hold on to Harper's Ferry for a bit. If I can. They're coming from this side too. I'll have to be quite careful about that. Haiti begins exporting cotton to the Union. Former Dominican President Sanchez is captured and executed by the Spanish. The European powers are beginning to take a more active interest in our war for independence. Beginning in September 1861, the Europeans will have a chance to increase their mobilization by a small amount each turn, provided we keep the federal armies at least 4 hexes away from both Richmond and Nashville. This chance will increase with each additional hex that we can put between the Federals and our cities. These locations have been marked with our flag. If you have not already sold the cotton, the nation you nominated as our sponsor will also attempt to send supply ships to run the federal blockade. And each time they successfully do so, we'll bring them closer to entering the war. To ensure these ships can reach us safely, ensure that the Federals do not have any ships within 2 hexes of the 5 marked locations along our coast. Armor trains are now available. And we get a few units. So we need to keep them away from these hexes, this hex, here and here. And then, let's see, Mississippi, I need Nashville, which is here. Now I can still reinforce them. Oh. Supposedly they had a chance to break out, but I don't really believe that much in it. Right, I need these to stay here, so those hexes around that stay under my territory. Then this is 0, this is 0. And I need to keep these in this hex. So this way, I know that I won't have immediate access to this, but they can go back and I can claim that territory as mine. At the same time, if I can at least hold it at Greenville and Cape Girardeau. They'll likely be able to get into Cape Girardeau anyway, which is 2 MP. Quite unfortunate that would be. As far as gunboats go, there ain't no other port around here, so let's just get these up there. Right, so it has to be within 2 hexes. I would like to, however, move these further down. There is a port there. Okay, well, I might be able to repair those gunboats, but we'll see if and when that might occur. That it's raining is not particularly useful for me just yet. Let's start... ah, shit. They're gonna take Louisburg there too. Yeah, I cannot put any unit there. Currently, the best thing I can do is send these in here. If I want to stop them, I might as well just try to do that there. You also have quite a few of them attached. The thing is I don't think necessarily I can kill them here. To the point where I'm probably just better off getting them out for the moment, keeping them in there. Doing that and that. If I move in here, it will make the unit that's gonna go there somewhat vulnerable. But I think they'll be able to hold out. This will allow me to hold here and potentially at Harper's Ferry. Now, let's keep them there so they can block it off. You need to get sent up there. I'm gonna move these further down and then up so I can hold that area, but then I still need another one to hold from Lewisburg. Whereas they can hold there. So now I'll at least have West Virginia covered, except for these parts, of course. Unfortunately, but that will have to be the way I can defend on that side, and then this is gonna have to hold this. Alright, it seems like my audio recording died there, so what I'm doing here is I'm doing redoing the voiceover for this next part here. Just because I don't actually feel like we're playing all this. So things will be a bit weird here. Either way, the unit of Missouri is likely to fall pretty soon. What I decided to do here is I want to up my diplomacy to the UK in hopes of getting their mobilization up a little bit. I could go for Kentucky as well, which is something that I considered. But the thing for Kentucky is that I thought that it was unlikely for them to ultimately secede to the Confederates, given very likely that it's going to be there's a high influence of there's probably going to be a high influence of the Union there. Although, you know, in hindsight, maybe it wouldn't have been such a bad idea after all. But that's the same as with the start in Illinois, or not Illinois, but in Missouri. It's like I did not realize that Missouri was, you know, going to get to our side anyway. So I basically wasted those 100 MPP there for first gameplay. Well, such is our luck, I suppose. Had I read the manual before, it actually did state in the manual that it's probably going to be quite useless. Supposedly there's an event for the Union whether to invade Missouri or not. And if you invade Missouri as the Union, they automatically secede. But if you don't invade them, you can use diplomatic influence. They'll stay neutral and you can influence them later. So that is something to think about. Although supposedly the AI is very likely to invade. Either way, our capture of the Norfolk Naval Yard, still fully provisioned, gives us access to another naval construction yard. We have only limited success at capturing former US Navy vessels, so the construction of a new navy will be necessary if we hope to break this blockade and allow supplies from Europe to reach us. When the Federals were leaving Norfolk, they burned the old frigate Merrimac, but enough of the hull and the inner machinery survived that we believe she could be rebuilt. A proposal has been presented, suggesting that the new ship be named Virginia, turned into a casemate ironclad Monitor unit. This would cost 200 MPPs and 100 MPPs for 2 turns, so will require us to remain in control of both Norfolk and its port for the next 8 months. Would you like to begin construction work on the Virginia? Notes: Monitors are the most powerful warships available early in the game, almost untouchable by wooden ships, although they are slow and limited to coastal waters. This decision represents a below-cost opportunity to build one, so you're encouraged to say yes if you intend to contest the Union blockade. Virginia will deploy in Norfolk in early March 1862, provided you maintain control of both the port and the city for every turn until then. Historically, the Virginia was completed, yes, on March 7th, 1862, a day before it participated in the famous duel with the Monitor, the world's first battle between ironclads. Yeah, so not only is this historical, I'm of course likely to say yes. I would like to see that. Anyway, volunteers form in Tennessee. That's good because I'm going to need those later on to get into Kentucky, and we have technology progression, which is pretty sweet. Alright, those guys moving up. Enemy going through West Virginia. Not a lot I can do there so far. But I think I've halted their advance through Virginia so far well enough. So I'm pretty happy about that. That's a relation there. Very happy my guys are holding at Harper's Ferry there. Very useful. Of course, across the river there. Must be hard for the Union to get through. Yeah, so that worked exceedingly well. Then they got kind of ambushed there. With these guys not able to really deal with the state militia, even though the state militia is completely surrounded. Which is very nice for me, of course. Yeah, very good there. And those ships being pretty annoying. Luckily we can defend those forts pretty easily. This really sucks though, Jackson and Profuk. These guys abandoning the city. It's like, well, what are you doing, man? They didn't defeat the Missouri State Guard at all. Like, in fact, they held out valiantly. But I guess that it's just on a timer, so. President Benito Juarez announces a suspension of Mexico's debt payments. Confederate signs a treaty of friendship and alliance with the Seminole Nation and the Chickasaw Nation and the Choctaw Nation. Gives us probably a lot more points too. Missouri joins the Union. That sucks. I mean, I would have even tried coming to their rescue with more forces if they actually did hold out there, which would have been really good, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. Which means these forces are now isolated, but I will go and rescue them. I really need those mines there. Those are super important for the most part. So I'm kind of want to keep those guys there. I actually thought they'd exert zone of control and get more territory. That was a bit of a bummer. As I kind of calculated on that, and now all these guys are kind of out of supply-ish. Those settlements don't give the greatest supplies either, which rather sucks. Either way, I need to get the cavalry to the mines. I'll take the mine now, but those guys will suffer some attrition. And here I need to go back and then hold on to the city. So at least I do have some forces throughout southern Missouri. I'm not very like to be able to move up, but at least I got something, so I can hold out there for a while, hopefully. Shouldn't be the end of the world. Ultimately, I'm looking more to from a delaying action around Missouri than anything else. Right, so as for this blockade runner business, there's not much to do there for now. Basically, I don't want to invest points into getting these other nations to come under my control there. One thing that I think might be a problem is the enemy getting through West Virginia, so I really want to make sure that I have some units set up there. Now, one of the... So, I did not realize that, and I think this will happen in the next turn, is if the AI gets through West Virginia too much, you get additional forces to protect you there. So ultimately it was completely useless to move these forces into West Virginia, which really sucks, actually. I mean, games are won or lost based on your knowledge of the events, so that is rather unfortunate there. But as before, I suppose we'll have to make do. Well, that goes. Seems like Union fighting is at 99, whereas ours is... I couldn't read that for a sec, but it seems to be a bit higher. Yeah, so what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to see how far I can go back in and retake West Virginia. Now, one could argue that West Virginia shouldn't be a thing either way, and it's just Virginia, but let's not get too much into that. Yeah, these odds are not great, especially because they have 2 entrenchment, which makes it a bit difficult. Now, I actually think that I can probably have the regiment at Harper's Ferry hold out for 1 more turn. So I'll just reinforce it in the hopes that they will survive, and then I'll probably have to get them down the road on the next turn. At any rate, I'll get the cavalry up, revealing a few more units there, making things a bit tricky. Now, none of those attacks seem to be very good, which also kind of sucks. I guess I got kind of lucky here getting a 1-1, which is not too bad. But now that this is, again, a 2-0, there's basically no way I can deal with those units. I was kind of hoping to potentially toss those guys back across the river, but yeah, it's a bit difficult. One thing that I can do here is get that brigade to move up and start trying to get into an envelopment kind of situation where I have the chance to cut off Union forces, trap them inside Virginia by cutting off the roads and stuff. It's an interesting concept which I think might actually work. with the emphasis on might, but it's pretty dangerous. I had the idea of cutting these guys off here. I would first have to get up to the road and then hope that the AI is not going to go batshit crazy on my brigade there. This is something that I would not attempt against a human player naturally, as it would very clearly not work out this way. Again, getting very lucky there with that attack, which is nice. So I basically need to shuffle my forces around in order to at least make sure that the AI cannot move further upon Richmond and further down, at least to Fredericksburg and Culpeper. But basically, if I can snare enough units. So definitely defending the bottom part down there should be good. Then I'm moving some of these guys up. Now, can only do a little bit of research at this point. Infantry tactics already at 2. Just like production and industrial technology, which are the ones that are most important. But cavalry tactics, probably not too bad, and I'll get it to level 3 this way, so I'll spend some there. And yeah, I can't get any core, unfortunately, because I need to level that up, but I guess for now I'll just get another division. Does mean that I'll have to go and start investing points into core as well, because it'll be a problem otherwise. Now down here, I'm probably best off keeping my units as far south as possible, trying to not engage the Union fleet, unless I'm extremely confident I can defeat them, and likely I won't be able to. But yeah, down there we already have Union ships, which is quite problematic. I'm sending the river gunboat down to potentially engage that enemy unit, even though they can't go out to sea, basically, since we have no navy. Or at least no navy worth mentioning. Except, I guess, indeed, on the rivers itself, where it's not that bad. Now, I think pretty much with all of that, my turn will be done. I sincerely hope the AI will not go and destroy that. There are units, so we can continue with our encirclement, although, of course, by the time that I'm re-recording the audio, I already know what's going to happen. We'll have this attrition here, but next turn at least we can link up again, and then they'll suffer one more turn of attrition. Then they'll be fine. Recruiting volunteers for the Union in California. Usagi prepares for war. Pro-Confederate Kentuckians organize the Orphan Brigade, which is nice because we'll have to go through Kentucky soon enough. Had I known that I'd gotten these units, as I mentioned before, then I would probably not have sent so many forces into West Virginia. But I did, not knowing we'll get extra reinforcements because the Union gets through West Virginia. Nothing we could have done about that either. I mean, the Union gets forces there and we do not, and you're scrambling to get some reinforcements there. But it doesn't mean that it's a lost cause. This guy's being a bit of a nuisance against our forts, which we do have to repair. Happy they're taking out the cavalry. And quite a damn shame they got it to 1. Then they got another attack. I'm really happy that that one was a 0, although Arguably, they'll probably got lucky with the double 2, but with 3 attacks, I think their average damage is probably in the 3 to 4 range, so I don't think I was that lucky or unlucky with that roll. The rest of these forces staying put, repairing, and not doing a whole lot that threatens my plan, which is really nice. I'm really happy about that. Brazil recognized the Confederacy as a belligerent in the Civil War. Nice. Probably because we're fellow slavery allowed countries, or countries where they allow slavery. And then we got this here, Anderson Division. Nice. It's not a corps, but we're working on it. All these brigades don't seem to count for much, but any unit that I get to destroy off the enemy is gonna be good. And even so early in the war, it does mean that we can even the odds a little bit. Because already the Union has a significant number of additional forces compared to us, and yeah, it's quite troublesome. In Strategic Command World War II, and maybe even, well, not necessarily that much World War I, but World War II, the Germans had at least the initial numerical advantage against countries like Poland. But in this game, it seems like even at the start, the Union has the numerical advantage, which makes sense, but makes it all the more difficult for a Confederate player, even against the AI, even if the AI is quite stupid at that, as it usually is. They tend to be not too bright. Yeah, that's fine though. One of the things that's interesting here, and something that I should have used myself, is that if your unit does not exert sort of control in certain hexes, like the cavalry here, it means that the enemy has a unit placed relatively close, at least. Since otherwise the ownership of the hex would go to me. So in that sense, you kind of always know whether there's an enemy unit or not, depending on how you move. So if I put a unit 2 hexes away from a certain position, then if not all hexes around my unit are seceded to me, it means that the enemy has a unit in the vicinity. In the case here with West Virginia, I wanted to take the city. That doesn't apply this time because they already had another unit which was also exerting a zone of control. So regardless of whether the city was empty or not, I would not have grabbed the hex to the northwest of my unit. Anyway, now I can go and encircle these guys, but my main question is am I gonna encircle the other 3 brigades there as well already this turn? It would require me to move the brigade, which I'd rather not do since it has poor supply now, which makes it a lot weaker. So that's pretty tricky. I do think that it's better not to do that this turn yet, but rather to wait for one more turn at the very least, so I can get some cavalry in there, repair some units, and make sure that I'm in an altogether slightly better position. I still have 2 little units in this area, which is making things difficult, but if I can encircle 6 brigades here and reenact a proper first bull run, I think it would help my cause considerably much. Since not only would it give me the ability to cross the river. I believe that's the Potomac as well, right next to Washington. Not 100% sure. Yeah, it doesn't actually say which river it is right now. I think it's the Potomac. Anyway, it will allow me to cross the river and besiege Washington proper. Not that I have siege weapons at the moment, but it might allow me to get into Maryland at the very least, work my way there, and potentially move on Baltimore or Annapolis. I'd have to see. That would at the very least encircle Washington and threaten it, which should be pretty good. Certainly it would decrease the Union morale by quite a bit and allow for European intervention potentially a little bit more. So supposedly, according to the game, the European powers are more likely to intervene the longer we have our forces on Union territory. So they're a lot more likely to intervene if we're in New York than if we're trying to hold down Richmond, which makes a lot of sense. Like, if the European powers think we're winning, then they're more likely to go and intervene. So it's kind of like a snowball effect in that regard. If you're doing well, the intervention of the European powers will allow you to do even better. But if you're doing poorly, then the European powers not intervening will, ultimately lead to your demise. It is interesting in the sense that for a lot of these games, victory or defeat often, according to the designers, hinges upon European powers intervening in the American Civil War. And they tend to claim that the European powers intervening is the make or break point of the Confederate States being capable of declaring independence from the United States. In however form that may be. Which in itself is an interesting concept, to be sure. As it's often suggested that, say that the Confederation or the Confederacy would have been able to declare independence, which certainly was about slavery. I mean, this is a war about slavery. But I would find or think that pretty soon the Confederacy would find themselves in a position where they would, like most global nations, abolish slavery either which way. If not for pressure from within the country, then certainly from pressure of all the other major countries in the world having abolished slavery already. Because even by this time, most countries, and especially countries like Britain, are realizing that slavery is, immoral in the most extreme sense. So they would not be pleased with any country that would continue to practice such a thing as slavery. So they'd be kind of forced due to the geopolitical situation, I think. Not to say that things would be severely different, and things would most likely still be exceptionally bad for the black population there, but well, that stuff is just guesswork either way. Suffice to say is that things certainly would not have been for the better if the Confederacy got independence. But from a gameplay perspective, trying to aim for ahistorical outcomes is always interesting. So either way, I think that yeah, basically what I'm doing here is I'm having some forces in Tennessee go up to the Kentucky border, I want to try to secure at least all the major river crossings, and or move into Kentucky myself the moment that it might potentially start to turn northerner, or for the boys in blue, basically. So I might have to waltz in there myself the moment they are going to try to turn. But we'll see how that envelops. Either way, I'm going to wrap things up here. I want to thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider leaving a like, comment, or subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Take care. See you then. Bye-bye.